Now that you've built up all your building elements, you are ready to start building up your rooms. Remember that if you forget an element or a heated room or anything else for that matter, you can always go back and add it. Or if you need to make a change to an existing heated room or building element, that can be done too. In this example, we will show you how to enter the lounge into the calculator. The room is built up using walls, floors and ceilings. You can also add any ventilation devices that are in that room and the internal air volume if you have opted to use gross external dimensions, or if you wish to override the internal air volume already calculated if you have used net internal or gross internal dimensions. As you can see from the floor plan, the majority of the lounge sits below bedroom 1 with a small bay window to the front, which is obviously an exterior wall. The bay has a flat roof and there is a party wall to the right hand side. An internal door leads from the lounge into the hall and an internal window separates the lounge from the kitchen. I like to start by entering the walls. To do this, click on the Add Wall button at the top right. I also like to split off the different wall types and enter them separately. However, you can do whichever suits you best. So let's start with the exterior wall for the bay window. So select the adjacent spaces exterior from the list, and from my inspection I've determined that the exterior wall is solid. I have entered this in previously in the building elements section, so the drop down menu can select solid brick external. I know from the floor plan that I have produced that the width of the exterior wall is 1.83 plus 0.52 plus 0.52, making a total of 2.87, so I will type this measurement into the box named width. Having measured the height of the wall during my inspection, I found that it was 2.50 metres high, so I entered that into the height box. The software will automatically fill in the area for me, so 2.87 times 250 is an area of 7.175 metres squared. If you wish, you can just type the area of the wall without entering the dimensions, or if you've already entered the dimensions, you can click the override button to type your own area in. I now need to add the window into the external wall, in this case the bay. To do this, click on the window icon displayed on the screen and enter the details. Based on my previous entries in the building elements section and the fact that the wall is exterior, the calculator is able to narrow down the options to exterior window to help me with my input. Select this from the drop down and proceed to enter the total area in for the dimensions. In this case, based on my on-site measurements, I know the width of the window is 2.87 and the height is 1.56. Now to enter the remaining portion of the exterior wall, so once again select the Add Wall with the adjacent space being exterior. The wall type is once again solid brick as per the floor plan. 1.60 plus 0.97 is 2.57, so I enter this into the width box. I also know that the height of the wall is 2.63 from when I visited the property, so 2.63 goes in there. The total area is displayed, but as always can be overridden if you wish. Moving on to the internal wall adjacencies, so let's start with the kitchen as this is a heated room, and select the appropriate option from the adjacent space list. As we have already stated, the adjacent room is the kitchen based on the floor plan, so select that from the drop down. I have previously determined that all the internal walls in the dwelling are solid, so I have entered a solid brick internal wall into the building elements section. So select this from the drop down list. Looking at the floor plan, the width is 4.40 and I know the height of the wall is 2.63. As with external walls, the area can be overridden or entered in rather than the room dimensions. Next, I need to enter the internal window that separates the lounge from the kitchen. Once again, select the plus window icon and the appropriate wall, and in this case the kitchen, and enter the dimensions or the area. 1.83 for the width, and it's 1.70 for the height. We follow the same process for the hall wall adjacency. select the heated room with the adjacent room being the hall. And for the dimensions this time, we're going to go with 4.58 for the width and 2.63 for the height. This time we have an internal door that separates the lounge and the hall. So we need to click on the plus door option in the adjacent space hall and select the relevant door type, which in this case is internal. The dimensions are already filled in. The software does have a predefined internal door size which you can use. The final wall to enter is the party wall. Once again, click the add wall to select the adjacent space as neighbouring building. I have already entered the wall type into the building elements section, so in this case I'll select party wall from the drop down list and enter the dimensions, which are 4.58 for the width and 2.63 for the height. Now I have entered all of the walls for the lounge, it's time to enter the floors, and again I like to split these off into easy to define areas, but you could enter all of the floor as one area if you wish. Click on the add floor, and as this is the ground floor and I know the floor is suspended, I select the adjacent space to be ground suspended floor. I have previously entered the suspended floor into the building elements section, so I will select this from the drop down. I am going to enter the main area, not including the bay, so the floor plan shows that to be 4.58 by 4.40, so in the width type 4.58, in the length 4.40. Of course you can just type the total area into the area box if you wish. It's important to remember that with the ground floor you must also enter the length of the exposed perimeter. That's so the software can work out the heat loss at that junction. In this case, I am entering the main area of the floor, not including the bay. So my exposed perimeter is 1.6 plus 0.97, a total of 2.57. Now, for the floor area of the bay window, again it's the same process. Click add floor with the adjacent space being suspended floor. The width, that's 1.83, and of course the length is 0.52. And now we're going to enter in the exposed perimeter, which in this case is 2.87. Now moving on to the ceilings. So this is entered much in the same way as the floors. The first thing you need to do is click the add ceiling button. This time we will start with the adjacent space above as being bedroom 1 as shown on the floor plan. As this is a heated room, this should be selected from the adjacent space menu. We have already stated the adjacent space is bedroom 1, so select that from the drop down list and then enter the ceiling type as an internal ceiling. Now, it is simply a case of entering the area of that ceiling either by typing total area in the box or entering the width and the length. In this case, I can see the width is 4.58 and the length is 4.40. Now, we move on to the bay window area, which has an exterior flat ceiling. So once again, click the add ceiling, and this time the correct adjacent space is exterior, no loft/roof void. As you may have guessed, I have already entered the flat roof into the building elements section, so select this from the drop down menu. As we know from when we did the floors, the width of this is 1.83 and the length is 0.52. The last part of the room is the ventilation devices. Now, this does not include whole house ventilation systems like mechanical ventilation, for instance. It's just individual items. So the available options are shown here as chimney or flue closed fire, chimney or flue solid burner, chimney or flue other heater, chimney open, chimney blocked, flueless gas fire, intermittent extractor fan, other open flue vertical duct, and passive vent. You are also able to enter the design flow rate if you wish, or unknown if you do not know. In this case, there is not a ventilation device in this room. Once you have completed the room, click Save and Continue to move on to the next one. As you can see, I have pre-entered all of the rest of the rooms of the dwelling into the calculator. You will need to add them yourself one by one. Once you've entered each room and click Save and Continue, you will get your result calculation. Your result calculation will show the peak heat load by floor area, and annual energy estimate, amongst a lot of other data. It will also split the property down on a room by room basis, as shown here in space heating load by room. It will show the fabric heat loss and also the heat loss by ventilation zone. This property only has one ventilation zone. You can also export your file as a JSON file so it can be imported later on back into the calculator. You can also print your results and save them for future reference.